Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah, it's your boy E-Man. Falcons Fandemic, we on that plan. All the hype in the city, let me break it down. Atlanta Falcons, wear the crown. Cruising down Peachtree in my Falcons gear. Pockets on the speakers, E-Man's here. Covering the news, all the buzz on the block. Fandemic family, yeah, we can't be stopped, yeah.
Jahan Dotson. Is he a $15 million gamble or steal of the offseason? Now, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Y'all really out here co-signing this Jahan Dotson deal like it's some kind of flex. $15 million is not a lot of money, but for a receiver, unknown, 2 years, that is a lot of money. For a dude who just finished the season, and I need y'all to hear me clearly on this, the worst receiver in the entire NFL at getting open. Not second to worst, not close to the bottom, but dead last. Out of every receiver in this league, this man scored a 23 out of 99 on ESPN's getting open metric. A 23. Now, sometimes numbers don't tell the full story, right? But this is why we're going to dissect this today to find out. Do the numbers add up? Do they add up to what this man could be for Kevin Stefanski's offense? So, yeah, we're going to be talking about the Dotson deal today, and leave it to me to find this stat. Of all things to talk about, but I could not overlook it, right? So what's up, Falcons Fandemics? You already know this is Cowboy, the podcast built for diehards. We break it down, we debate it raw, and we give you the perspective. And you're not going to get this from all the sport networks, right? They're not going to throw this at you. But somehow or another, leave it to Cowboy to find this stat and talk about it, right? This is going to be one of those head scratchers, right? But we have to talk about it because why? Because he is in the red and black uniform next season. So grab your drink, settle in, because today we're going to dissect this deal, signing from the signing, the front and the back, the hype, the concerns, the numbers behind the numbers, and most importantly, whether the Falcons brass just made a brilliant low-key pickup or whether we just landed a $15 million problem. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. All right, folks, let me give you the context because context does matter. This offseason, the Falcons had a real legitimate need at wide receiver. We let Darnell Mooney walk. Cordell Hodge, gone. So outside of Drake London, who is absolutely our number one and a legit wide receiver in this league, we had not too much, right? Now, Kyle Pitts is still here, franchise tag, finally, presumably getting paid what he deserved by words of a lot of us fans. And Bijan Robinson is obviously a weapon out of the backfield. But at the actual wide receiver position, we needed a wide receiver too. Somebody who could stretch the field, take some pressure off London, and give Michael Penix or Tua or whoever lines up at under center a legitimate second option on the outside. So the front office goes out and gets Jahan Dotson, 2 years, $15 million. They also grab Olamide Zaccheaus, bring him back to Atlanta as a depth piece, and brought Austin Hooper back at tight end. So it's not like Dotson is the only move, but he's clearly the headliner. He's supposed to be that wide receiver too. He's supposed to be the answer. And look, on paper, I understand it. I get it. The guy ran a 4.4340. That is blazing speed. That is a see-you-later cornerback speed. And in his first 2 seasons in Washington, he seemed to have lived up to the hype. The man was producing. 84 catches, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. 11. That ain't a fluke. That's a real player. So I get why the Falcons wanted him. I really do. But then I look at the numbers from the last 2 years, and yeah, we got to have a talk, a legitimate talk. So what's the problem? The analytics behind it. So Dotson gets traded to Philadelphia in 2024. right? The Eagles, Super Bowl contenders, loaded roster. And this is where things get uncomfortable. In his first two seasons with Phillies, 2 full seasons, and I want you guys to pay attention to this. This man caught 37 passes for 478 yards, 1 touchdown. One. Jahan Dotson, who dropped 11 touchdowns in Washington, caught 1 touchdown in 2 years in Philadelphia. Now, you might say, Cowboy, he was the third receiver in Philly behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Of course, his numbers were down. And yeah, I hear that. That's a fair point. The opportunity just wasn't there. But here's where it gets real concerning. ESPN has this analytic metric. It measures how well wide receivers get open. It scored scores of wide receivers 0 to 99. 99 being the best. Elite route runners, guys who get to create separation, they're normally up into 70s and 80s. You want to be above 50. As a young guy coming in, a rookie, you definitely want to be above 50. Jahan Dotson last season, 23 out of 99. The year before, 24 out of 99. Tied for the second worst in the league. That's 2 consecutive years, guys, back to back. Almost dead last in the NFL at the most fundamental thing a wide receiver has to do to get, and that's to get open. And that is the part that should make every single Falcon fan shift in their seat just a little bit. Because here's the thing. It's one thing to not get the ball because you're the third option, right? It's a whole different thing not to get the ball because nobody can trust you to get open. Those are 2 very different problems. Now, that being said, I'm going to shed some light on this. He wasn't the only receiver to unexpectedly be at the bottom of the list in this category that we didn't think would be there, right? We already know Jahan Dotson was dead last. So we're going to start at the number 8th wide receiver and work our way back down to Jahan Dotson. At the number 8th place was Isaiah Bond out of Cleveland. And this one here is a surprising player coming on this board, Emeka Ibuka and Tampa Bay. Who would have thought, right? Devon Vale out of New Orleans. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Pittsburgh. Alec Pearson, Indiana. Jalen Tolbert in Dallas. Taquan Thornton in Kansas City. And then you have yours truly, Jahan Dotson, who's dead last. So if Dotson cannot create separation and the analytics says he can't, then that 4.4 speed is completely irrelevant. You could be the fastest man on the field. It doesn't matter if you're covered. You cannot outrun quarterbacks who know exactly where you're going if your route running isn't making them guess. You know, there are a lot of things that contribute to you're not getting the ball, right? You're not running your route right. You're getting pressure from the quarterback is not reading you, right? You have you're playing against an elite cornerback. There are a lot of various reasons. But what should not be the reason why is because you cannot get open. Now, you're not going to be able to get open on every play. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying is at sometimes being at the number 3 receiver, even number 4, you should be able to get open sometime, right? But speed without separation is just a guy running around on the field. Really, I mean, just running fast in the coverage. And that is the fear here. That is what has people worried. Not that he was on a bad team. Not that he didn't get targets. But the reason he didn't get targets is because he couldn't get open. Not all bad news, guys. There is a counter argument. There is reason to hope, right? Okay. And I am a fair person. And in the spirit of fairness, y'all know I always keep it real and fair. So let me give you the other side of this. There are reasons to believe that Dotson could very well turn things around here in Atlanta. Reason number 1. Philadelphia is a different animal. The Eagles' offensive scheme, the competition for targets, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, that is one of the most stacked receiving cores in the league. If you're wide receiver 3 in Philly, you might as well be invisible. It is entirely possible that Dotson's struggles were situational and not a reflection of his true ability. Atlanta's receiving room is significantly less crowded. He walks in as a clear wide receiver number 2 behind London. That's a completely different role with completely different opportunities and responsibilities. Reason number 2, the Falcons want the Washington Commanders with Dotson back. They want that player, that version. That version was real. 84 catches, 1,041 yards. Hold on, give me a second, guys. Yeah, 1,041 yards, 11 touchdowns over 2 seasons. Now, that was a productive impact for wide receiver. The Falcons are betting that the version of Dotson still exists and that it got buried somehow under the circumstances in Philly. It got buried, but not erased. So reason number 3, Drake London changes everything. Having a genuine wide receiver 1 who commands double teams and safety help, that creates opportunities for everyone else on the field. London's gravity alone could open up space for Dotson in ways that he didn't get while he was with Cleveland or with Washington. Oh, I'll say Cleveland, I'm sorry, with Philly or Washington. And then finally, there's reason number 4. Just like Drake, Dotson owns the wins 50-50 balls time after time. He reads the ball well when it's in the air. Sometimes, just like Drake London, he displayed time and time again, even over through his college career and his early career in Washington, that 50-50 ball is his friend. So I'm going to let you guys see this video. I'm going to pull this video up here and let you guys take a look at it. And as you can see, like this curl route here, it was very decent. The only thing I could see that he could possibly use work on is actually his footwork. You know, he makes adjustments all the time. He reads the ball well in air. He makes the adjustment to come down with those 50-50 balls. And most of the time, you see him working in the middle of the field. And that in itself can help Drake London. He draws attention with other cornerbacks and with the help of the safety. Like I said, this could definitely work in our favor as defenses they like to double Drake London or even blanket him. So this, if he performs like his days in Washington, he would definitely draw that attention. Yes, from looking at this video, you can question his get off, his burst off the line, or even his footwork. But I'm convinced that wide receivers coach Robert Prince will get Dotson where he needs to be as a receiver to work in this Kevin Stefanski's offense. But Dotson draws attention, especially going deep, which will allow London to work underneath or going up the seam. So there's the possibility London and Dotson complement each other, much like what Drake and Darnell Mooney did early on before Mooney got injured. So yeah, I'm not here to try to bury this signing. That's not what I'm doing. But I did have to highlight the fact that this stat exists. There is a version of this that works out beautifully for the Falcons. A lighter workload, a less crowded depth chart, a true wide receiver 1 taking the pressure off of him. Dotson could absolutely be a legitimate weapon in Kevin Stefanski's offense. But I'll be lying to you if I said those analytics didn't scare me when I saw them. I mean, when I read them, they scared me. But the wild card question is, outside of Jahan Dotson, and we gotta address the elephant in the room just about on every show. Who is going to be throwing the ball? Who is throwing the ball to Jahan? We've got Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix battling it out on this job. And look, I got love for both of them, right? But whoever wins this competition, whether it's Tua or Penix, has to prove they can stay healthy. Penix has to prove he's ready to be a starter in this league. And that matters enormously for how effective Dotson can be, right? And I say prove that he can be a starter, but be a starter in Kevin Stefanski's offense, because we already know he can start. We've seen him play. But a receiver who already struggles to get open needs a quarterback who can feel the pressure, extend plays, and give him time to work. He needs someone who he can trust enough to throw him the ball on second and or a third read. He needs chemistry, and that takes time. So not only are we betting on Dotson rediscovering his Washington form, we're doing it also while figuring out our quarterback situation. And those are the two high wire acts that's happening at the same time right now. And that's not saying that he's actually going to be penciled in at number 2, because we still need to legitimately go out and look for another wide receiver. And I'm not saying that it can't work. I'm saying it's a lot to bank on. This situation with Jahan Dotson is a lot to take in. The stats don't lie. Numbers don't lie, especially when it's following you through your career. So bottom line, you guys know me. I'm not going to sit here on the fence all day. And here's where I land on this. The Falcons needed a receiver. That's real. And that $15 million over 2 years, Dotson wasn't going to break the bank. This is a calculated, manageable risk. I respect that. The front office wasn't out there throwing away $80 million on a guy who has question marks over his head. They give him a reasonable deal with they gave Dotson a reasonable deal that if it did not work, it's not going to break the bank for them to walk away. But I still think it's $15 million is a lot of money, right, for a declining wide receiver, right? But he does have a lot of upside. As you saw in the video, this new system could very well be his saving grace. But to those analytics, that's not something you can just wave away, right? You talk about 2 consecutive seasons ranked at the absolute bottom of the league at getting open. That's not just noise. That's a pattern. And until Dotson shows us on the field in a Falcons uniform that he can create separation, that he can be that wide receiver number 2 that we need, I'm keeping one eyebrow raised on this one. But I want to be wrong about this. I genuinely want to be wrong. I want Dotson to come into training camp and look like the guy who caught 11 touchdowns in Washington. I want to see him burning corners in the preseason, making Penix or Tua. They have to say, that's my guy. I want this to be the steal of the offseason. But hope is not a strategy. And right now, this signing is requiring a lot of hope from me. We will see. The field doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. The analytics don't lie. But, all right, Falcons Fandemics, that's going to do it for me today on this solo episode. Cowboy coming at you live, unfiltered, no backup, just like I said. I had to bring it to you raw because I could not overlook this, right? But now I need to hear from you guys on this one. Drop it in the comments right now. Are you rocking with Jahan Dotson signing, or are you worried now that I brought this stat to the forefront? Give me a thumbs up if you think this is going to work. Give me a thumbs down if you think we just wasted $15 million. Let's see where the Fandemic faithful stand. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, because we are locked in this offseason, covering every Atlanta Falcons move. We are not sleeping on a single item. But Fandemics, diehard Falcon fans, it's always that time. Let's go. Let's rise up. We out.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's your boy E-Man. Falcons Fandemic, we on that plan. All the hype in the city, let me break it down. Atlanta Falcons, wear the crown.